can't actually hear it, so I'm probably not anywhere near the beat. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Well, all right. Welcome back, and Frank is humming right along.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been able to hear the music live. I feel like I'm in an old-timey cartoon.
Yeah, talkie. It's a talkie.
Yeah.
Yes. So the magic of modern day wonders. But yes, this is Chris Frank Games. Welcome to the show, and I am your host, Chris Stotts, and with us as always, the other host, the Frank White. Frank, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. It's snowy. My car got high-centered getting out of the alley this morning, and it took 3 neighbors to push me out. And then people were really confused because it did not look like I was stuck at all, but I have a low car, and there was just like 6 inches of really impacted snow like right under my axle, and I couldn't get any traction. And then after a while you like grind the snow into glassy ice underneath, and yeah, so
yeah. I was for a second there I didn't recognize the word centered snow or whatever, snowing or whatever, but then I was like, oh, it probably means you but I'll tell you what, we lived by an alley back in the day in La Crosse, and well, we still do, my parents do, and yes, those alleys get treacherous and not dangerous, but you just the ice just, when all these cars just go over the same spot, they heat up, the snow, and then it freezes right away, so it turns into like ice.
Yeah, you just get these patches, and
yeah,
you got to throw salt down. I know there's one secret is if you're willing to ruin your like welcome mat, put that under one of the, like, if you got a one wheel that's particularly bad, put that under there.
Oh yeah, and then you can't go super, because the problem is you can't go really hard on the gas. You got to go really slow and in low gear if you got a low gear.
Well, and then you have to disable the your anti-slip stuff that modern cars have. Because you want the wheel, like, in some cases you want the wheel to keep spinning. So, but yeah, I turned that off. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try it. And I'm like, well, that made the car smell bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there's, you put salt underneath, because I remember helping my grandma. My grandma never understood the principle of don't hit the gas when you're trying to get out of there. But salt, kitty litter, cardboard. You take a cardboard and try to wedge it underneath the wheel.
Yeah, but this was more just a problem of the like pile of snow that was perfectly positioned. Like I was even like crawling under the car and like kicking it out, like the snow out, and it just didn't work. I just needed to get 3 people to push me backwards because it's slightly uphill. So once I got dislodged, I could just back up and gun it, and that worked. But yeah, so this has been Chris Frank Snow Emergency Procedures.
Talking about,
thank you for listening.
The old
like and subscribe.
Probably the number one reason why I got out of the Midwest was that goddamn snow. All right. So all right, but yeah, we will be talking about video games today. Actually, not that much news going on. We kind of have a couple of Megaton announcements, or at least one Megaton, a real Megaton announcement. And but other than that, I mean, just really games have been coming up. And nothing. I was kind of hard pressed. I looked at the old, my news document, and nothing was really on there. So
people are too busy making and playing video games right now to cause controversies.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I've kind of been staying off Twitter a little bit more. And when you like stay off Twitter and try to review all the tweets that you missed, like in 22 hours, sometimes you don't see all of them because the timeline just gets fucked up. I think that's actually kind of a good thing. You can't miss something you don't know you miss, right?
Yeah.
Is that the right way to say it? Phrase it? All right. Okay.
Heaven help you might have clicked on moments.
All right. Well, let's start off with the pretty much the story, I think, probably of the week, maybe of the quarter, the financial quarter, is that Reggie Fils-Aimé, I believe that's how you pronounce it, because it's French, but probably everyone knows him at Reggie Fils-Aimé. Fils-Aimé.
Anyways, it's just Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie.
We know who you're talking about.
Reginald. Yeah, president of Nintendo of America. announced his retirement today after 15 or 14 years with Nintendo. And he's retiring, not going to Sony, not going to Microsoft. I'm glad to see that. I don't think he would do that. But yeah, retiring. And yeah, I remember the first time kind of becoming aware of this guy is during the later GameCube days, where Nintendo was really just seemed like they were down and out and just getting beat up, and they're just a lot of their games were that great if they're the third-party games and all this stuff, and there weren't a lot of games coming out from Nintendo themselves, and it was just kind of some dark days. And as a Nintendo fan who always roots for Nintendo, this guy comes out, and I think this is the same conference they announced the the DS, the same it was a Shinoya show, or I don't know, E3 or whatever. And the first thing he said is, "My name is Reggie, and I'm here to kick ass." And that was a nice thing to hear when, after having Nintendo just kind of pretty much be pushing for like 10 years.
That's definitely something he has to say, because the man does not look like he kicks ass. Like, he looks like he's going to pour you a glass of warm milk and like gently explain to you why you've disappointed him.
Why it's okay that they don't have HD graphics in their...
it's really your fault, children.
Yeah, and a lot of these CEOs or these presidents and all that stuff, you see him and you're like, this guy doesn't play games. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't think Reggie was like a hardcore gamer, but he definitely played video games and Nintendo games. So that's cool. All right, Frank, your favorite Reggie moment?
Definitely that the meme of him going, "What's wrong with you?" Like that was worth every year he spent in that job.
Does he have like I'm not aware of this meme. Does he just like have a perplexed look? And what was it? What's wrong with you? That was
no. It's a GIF. He's saying so. I don't know what he's actually saying.
Is it saying to like Jimmy Fallon maybe? I don't know. But
no, it's like at a E3 or something.
No. Okay.
Dude, Reggie, what's wrong?
Yeah.
He was a memeable CEO, or
kind of a goofy guy, right? Kind of a goofy guy. I guess the guy kind of be a goofy guy to work at Nintendo. So, well, Frank, when I first heard about this, my first thought was, well, I better get my resume all brushed up. But they're not taking applications. They've promoted someone from the inside who's a sales guy. And by the way, Nintendo of America is just pretty much a marketing company. They don't they translate, I guess they help out translate all that stuff, but they just market games in America, Nintendo games. So, anyways, the new guy is, I don't know what his first name, but his last name is Bowser. And you cannot ask for anything better than your president named Bowser for Nintendo. So.
Like, do you think that helped him get the job?
I'm sure
did it factor in?
I'm sure when he, I'm sure he worked his way up through Nintendo. I'm sure the first interview was like, your name's not Bowser. This is a joke, right? This is a joke. So, makes you wonder, where is, Matthew Kratos? Where is he at right now? I don't know.
Hi, I'm the new president of Sony America. I'm John Bloodborne.
Yeah.
Wait, that's it. Okay.
All right. So, all right. So there you go. Reggie will be missed, and so it just can get better and better, I guess, right? All right. Let me just move the menu around. All right. So then just really kind of the other big news for the week, or just we had a bunch of releases last week. None of them that we really played. As far as I know, but like Anthem, Anthem had one of these crazy EA release staggered release dates.
Is it out for everybody yet, or is that like tomorrow?
No, I think it's today. Yeah, I think it is like finally today as we speak, Thursday. But Friday, for sure.
We've reached the end of the chart.
Yeah. We reached the average, the sum, or whatever the formula will be.
Yeah. And considering how buggy and like in need of patches it is, boy, I bet you guys who all played it early when it was, Crash-a-Palooza, even more so. Bet you guys are real happy about paying extra money so that you could beta test.
All right. Well, this seems to be a EA specialty because it seems like every game they do these days. I mean, Battlefield 5 was pretty much the same way, buggy, and was definitely not a what do you call it, Alpha Gold release. So I don't know. I mean, it's you hear all these commentators and all these video game personalities say, well, there's a big day one patch that changed. I'm like, well, okay, well, didn't Destiny have a big day one? Didn't have Red Dead have a big day one? I mean, that's
everything has a big, like, it's
standard
it comes
days,
with the
right?
territory
So
at this point.
when you have these games that are so big and so crazy, you have so many people working on them, and you have to release it. I mean, you're gonna be working till the last hour to like get something out there. So
it's the day 10 patch that's what's important.
Yeah, exactly. Or day 6 months patch. Or something like that. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, you kind of get. I'm kind of getting some mixed reactions on it. I haven't really read too much reviews, but from what I've heard, the combat is fun, although it's not like super deep and super great, I guess. And I guess the story is just pretty much watching like cutscenes and like just hearing people radio chatter like while you're doing the fighting. So
yeah, well, I've been curious because I read some reviews and watched a couple reviews. Because I'm not gonna lie, it looks kind of neat, like at first glance, with the Iron Man suits, and the shooting looks serviceable. But I think the biggest issue right now is just the bugs and quality of life stuff, because there's reviewers have been talking about the load times being like up to like 3 minutes, and then compounded by the fact that there's like a lot of them, because you can't equip gear in the field. You have to go back to like the forge or whatever to equip gear. So you basically, like, you've got your gear zone, where you can change your loadouts. You've got your hub zone, which is first person and has slow movement speed and is not online, or is not multiplayer. So you can't go back to the hub with your crew, and you have to like slowly walk to your suit and then walk to an NPC and then walk back, and then so all of those have load screens like of anywhere from like 30 seconds to 3 minutes, which is a nightmare by modern standards. Yeah. Like. Day one Bloodborne wasn't that long, and that game had famously long load times. But the other issue is that the game will load screen you to catch up with your squad. So if you join into a squad, or you like join, if you do some matchmaking, it sends you in, but then like the mode starts, like the cutscenes and the story bits and like all of that stuff starts the moment player one has loaded in. So it's apparently super duper easy to miss that stuff, and like very hard to go back and like see it again. And then I've seen reviewers complaining about getting dragged by the load screens. You remember playing, 2-player games where you shared a screen, couch co-op with like your little brother, like back in the day, and like whoever was the worst gamer like got really mad about having the screen drag them. Like, you're off ahead and they're trying to get the last jump. And
when you fall down in Contra.
It's one of the main reasons my wife won't play video games with me. But it's that, except with load screens, so if you jump in and your teammates have already gone off ahead and you're too far away from them, the game will like try to teleport you ahead, which necessitates another load screen. So there's been reports of like, spending an entire mission just doing this like load screen leapfrog. Like by the time you've loaded in, well, they've moved on again, and like, maybe you shouldn't be playing with these guys. They seem like jerks. Like, hold on. But I mean, I understand. Like, you've got a freaking jetpack suit in this game. Why wouldn't you just be like blasting off ahead?
Well, it's a problem that I don't think games have really solved yet. You know what I mean? How do you give a story to 4 people at the same time? When they're in different places, right?
Well, and how you don't do it is this way, because
Yeah,
people have been very unhappy about it.
it's loading screens all the way down, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's loading screens the game, and that's obviously something that, like, as we saw with Bloodborne. I'm going to talk about Bloodborne as much as possible. They fixed that quite a bit. Bloodborne has pretty snappy load times these days, but it took a couple of patches. So that's something, we can look forward to getting fixed. I feel like a deeper problem that I've seen from reviews it's one of these games, these looter shooters. People on Twitter are trying to coin Schluter as the neologism, which is just stupid enough to get my seal of approval. So these are Schluters from now on. I
think the first time I schlutered was when I was 12 years old, Frank. So I don't know what that means.
But so the deeper problem, like the IGN review touched on this, and I guess people complain about IGN reviews, but I really appreciate that their video reviews, they keep it like 7 minutes, like as opposed to like you watch some of these other YouTubers and they're like, here's my Anthem review part 1. It's 40 minutes long. How is it part 1? Basically, the thing they touched on is that the mid game gets really dull and grindy, and that it really picks up at the end game. And then obviously these games are always tend to be pretty interesting at the beginning when you're just starting out and trying out new things. But yeah, so it sounds like it gets really repetitive and samey, and you're not changing up your gear. You're just getting better versions of what you have. So you're still just shoot grenades, power with a cooldown, and so the gameplay does not vary much for the majority of your time through the campaign, and then gets much more varied at the end game, which to me is a huge microtransactions red flag right here. Because any game that's it's really grindy until you get to end game stuff, and it's what could get me to end game stuff faster? Paying money?
Some sort of monetary investment, Frank? Is that?
Yeah. So I feel like this is just going to run into the same old problem of an interesting game that's held back by its need for monetization.
Well, you know what? I think, and it's okay to complain about stuff and criticize and all that stuff, but I'm with these loot boxes and all this other crap, I'm just past the point where I don't even care. You know what I mean? I know that's bad. I know that's what the industry wants you to do, and
well, I'm saying it's actually hurting the game itself. If you took this game and you said, okay, well, maybe we won't make it a huge grind fest, then you could instantly solve that problem of the middle part of the game being so saggy, because that's a huge red mark for me, do not play, of that you spend a lot of the time shooting the same guns. And that's that's
Destiny, that's Division.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm just not a fan of the genre because, I was complaining about Shadow Warrior 2 the other day, that I was very excited to get Shadow Warrior 2 for cheap, and then played it, and it's a Schluter now, with a lot of melee, so it's like a stabluter. Okay, it doesn't work, but I don't like the gameplay loop. I don't like numbers coming out of my enemies instead of blood. The fact that you're upgrading stuff, you tend to get really locked into a loadout, because why would you experiment with a gun that handles differently or affects the gameplay differently when you could just be pumping up the numbers of the stuff that you're already using, because the game is going to just pump up the volume and the hit points of the enemies. So, experimentation ends up being punished, because, you might like the shotgun better than the sniper rifle, but, the sniper rifle's +10 and the shotgun's +2, so you're never going to be able to compete, kind of thing. Yeah. So,
Well, listen, I don't think this game is bad because of the fucking monetization. I mean, I'm sure there's other problems with it. I look at it from the other point of view where it's like, okay, there are people that want something they can play with their friends and spend a lot of time and actually feel like they're accomplishing something. And then there are a lot of people that just want to play a game really quick and have fun. How can we make money off this? Okay, we'll charge those people, or whatever. We'll charge them to have an XP booster or whatever. You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess these are those games, though. You know what I mean? I mean, these MMOs. I mean, that's what this is. Just, and I always thought, and maybe I didn't articulate this before, but kind of just thinking about this right now when you're saying like, yeah, there's nothing enticing about numbers going up. I mean, some people, yeah, that is, but like for me, it's like, okay, you're gonna stop playing this game in like at least 3 years, right? Okay, you may get 2 years out of it, but you're just gonna put it away. You're not gonna be playing your PS4, and you're gonna be moving on to something else. So why invest 1,000 hours, especially like a single player, campaign? At least if it's multiplayer, you're competitive and you're competing against other human beings and all that stuff. But I don't know. To me, I mean, I guess that's video games. That's life, I guess, totally, right? I mean, why go to a job and make money?
We got a big enough marketplace, at least. Like, I take solace in the fact that there's pushback on this, and not in the like, we need to make this business practice illegal, or we need to punish these guys, but just in the fact that there are like games coming out, like Ion Maiden, the new build engine game, which is kind of like that's actually something that I've gotten kind of excited for lately. I mean, it should be coming out in a couple of months, but that's exactly what I want in my shooter. In that, like, when I get a new gun, it's not RPG stats that change. It's okay, well, this gun is a revolver, and this gun is a submachine gun, and this gun is a this is a Gatling shotgun, and here's your like homing bombs. Like every gun you get should kind of expand the gameplay possibilities, and I never get that from shooters, I guess I'm gonna have to just give up on the genre. Like, they always seem so enticing, and I do like the idea of like progression, and you can have this game like you feel like you've gotten stuff out of it by all the time you put in. But I'm like, I really like. They need to, I want games like Ion Maiden or Dusk, but not necessarily with the old school aesthetics to go along with the old school gameplay. Which is why, like, after playing Shadow Warrior 2, I'm just like, why am I not playing Doom? I could just be playing Doom 2016. I've only done the campaign on that once. Why am I not getting that out?
Yeah, play it on arcade. That could be a lot more fun. Yeah, but Frank, the video game publishers are going to tell you what you want. They don't care what you want. They're going to tell you. All right, so there you go. That's the anthem. Up there, I think I was going to add something, but I totally forgot about it. All right. All right, so I don't know, the Black Ops 4 update came out, the big update to I guess a couple of modes like Grand Theft. It's heist Grand. I don't know. I don't play this game, so I don't really care. Oh, I guess the big controversy though is that they added a new character to the multiplayer, not the battle royale, but the multiplayer kind of has a siege thing going where you can pick certain heroes or whatever. And I guess one of the designers originally said, like, early on that you would they introduced loot boxes in this update, and he said that you would not be able, you could unlock heroes not by doing loot boxes, but a couple months later, lo and behold, you have to purchase a loot box to get the character.
Surprise!
By the way, that's why no one wants to talk about their video game until like it's released. You know what I mean? They don't want to talk.
Well, at this point, you can't make a judgment on a game until it's like already run its course. Like they're video game reviews are becoming obsolete because if you're reviewing the game on day one or pre-release is like an entirely different beast.
That's
than
not the game.
The game, after a couple of DLCs.
It's the beta.
So yeah.
Yeah, these big. It's funny. These AAA. It's like these guys. And listen, I understand it's hard to make a video game when you got hundreds of people working on it, but these guys have like almost unlimited resources. They have unlimited talent, unlimited whatever technology, and they're releasing these like buggy messes. I understand these games are huge and all this stuff, but like why can't we see like a major release without like just issues? I don't know. Of course, it's not that easy. Of course,
we do. They just tend to be like single player games, and things like once you have other players involved, it kind of exponentially like creates like a spider web of reactions that can happen. You got your net code now, and just having more players interacting.
Yeah, well, speaking of Doom, I'm sure you can still play Doom online with no problems. I mean, let's go back to that.
Just deathmatch.
All right, and then Metro. I don't even know what the subtitle for this game is, but Metro
Exodus.
Is it Exodus?
Metro
okay.
Exodus.
I thought it was more
because they're leaving the metro.
Oh, okay.
They're going on an adventure.
Yes, came out last week, and I gotta say, I after watching some video of this, I almost plunked down to $60 to purchase it. To me, this is like a $40 game. But yeah, it looks really, really, really good. Frank, have you been paying attention at all?
A little bit. Yeah, I'm like one Metro game behind because I gave up on the second one. Like apparently right before. Talked about this before, right before the big twist where the game becomes more interesting, because I played like the first act of the game or whatever and was like, this is boring, and apparently it gets much more interesting. So no, I'll have to go back to that someday, but then I'll have to start over because I gotta get like the HD versions. It's a whole big thing. So
yeah,
I'll get around
for the Pro. I wonder how they run on because they run great. Because I got the double version a couple of years ago. No, they ran good, but like there's still issues. I wonder if they got updated for the Pro at all.
Probably. So. I mean, they've got the first two games where like everything's taking place entirely in subway tunnels, so it's not like they have huge draw distances to worry about. They do now.
Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna get this game as soon as I see like a price drop. So it'll be pretty cool. All right.
Yeah, it seems to be reviews are mostly good. It's got a little bit of like the unavoidable open world jank, some bugs, nothing Fallout-y, but
I haven't actually heard about the actual like. Does it do anything new with like open world? Because it's like an open world shooter, right? So
it's not quite. It is. There's like 4 zones, so it's not a full open world. It's basically because the premise is that they've got this like armored train, and they've realized that there is life going on outside of Moscow. Because I don't know how they figured that out. Because if you remember in the first games, like you had to have your gas mask on if you were outside. Like it was like somehow the air is worse outside than in the tunnels. But so they've gotten on this train and they're going. So basically, it's going to be, you go to an area and then some kind of story quest stops the train from moving, and you go and do a bunch of side quests and do the main quest and get the train moving again. That moves on to the next zone. So it's not a continuous open world, but it is like each individual area is open, which is the way I like it these days. Like that feels like a good like balance to me. And I guess the first area has some serious stalker vibes, which is always up my book.
And you're taking out outposts though, right? Like Far Cry style.
Yeah, they have that. I mean, they had that in the original game too. It wasn't like, because there's stealth sections and stuff. It wasn't like as totally like Ubisoft is in like, all right, here's the outpost, here's the thing, now you've unlocked that, and go on.
Yeah.
But there are enemy camps, and you can sneak around.
Alrighty, all right. Again, slow news week, at least as far as I know. But Frank, did you say anything?
News-wise? No, not really.
Yeah. Nope.
I got
All right.
nothing.
Alrighty. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with the games we've been playing.
Yeah, some mandolin going on, or
Yeah, that's the halftime music. Frank, have
is
you
it
ever
always
listened
the
to
same?
podcasts, Frank? Are you...
I don't know if I ever made it all the way to halftime.
no. We don't even have to watch it. I think it's very soothing. All right. All right. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm all set.
All right. All right, we are back, and I have actually quite a bit. So, Frank, would you want to go first? You got anything?
Yeah, sure.
Go back
My long national nightmare of not having Everspace has finally come to an end. This game that I ordered from Limited Run Games for the physical copy back in the end of July 2018 finally arrived in the mail earlier this week. After it had been so long that I had forgotten about it, remembered it, but then couldn't find any, I actually searched through my old emails to see where was the receipt for pre-ordering it, and couldn't find it. So I had totally convinced myself that I had not actually bought it. But then all of a sudden it shipped. And I was like, oh, and then since UPS sucks, I had to wait a couple extra days. It was supposed to arrive one day, but then, UPS is awful. They give you a estimated time of delivery, and then when that time comes, they're like, yep, we delivered it to your local post office. And I'm like, well, it's a holiday weekend, guys. That's going to add 3 days. And they're like,
we don't care.
Don't care.
Our job is
UPS.
done. Mission accomplished.
So
what can Brown do for you?
And then my kids were sick, and so I had a sick baby. I'm home. He's got the flu, so he falls right asleep. He's taking a nap. I'm unwrapping the game, and then daycare calls and says your other kid is sick. So, it was just getting hilarious by the end. By the time I actually had the disc in the console, I was like, what's gonna happen to stop me from playing this game now? Lightning, fire, who knows? But now I can say I have actually played Everspace, and I hope I like the music because I got the soundtrack too for some reason on CDs. But it's a fun little outer space game. It is a spaceship roguelike. It's a real mashup of different kind of game elements. And also, I have this weird tendency to play a game and then play a tangentially similar game with wildly different controls. And that just always comes up. From going from Prey to Resident Evil 2 is weird. And here going from Ace Combat 7 to Everspace was hella weird. Because it's not technically a flight sim, even though you're flying a spaceship around outer space, but it controls much more like Descent did back in the day, which I believe they call a 6 degree of freedom shooter.
So you can go up and down, kind of. That's kind of
neat. So it's it's weird because it's it controls sort of like a first person shooter. It's closer to a first person shooter than an actual flight game or No Man's Sky. But yeah, so you use the left stick strafes left and right, and then also up and down. So to go forward, you actually have to hold down the left trigger for thrust, and then you're controlling your reticle in the front of your ship with the right stick, and then you're strafing with the other. So, I mean, it's pretty intuitive once you get used to it. But yeah, going from Ace Combat, which has a very as close to a flight simmy thing as you can get with a Japanese action game, was very disorienting. And then also, I don't know what it is. It's weird that No Man's Sky is, as far as I'm concerned, the only game to get this right so far, because it's a little disorienting because you cannot manually roll the ship because of the way it works. You can go up, down, left, right. But so you have to like,
there's no
there's an
yaw.
optional auto roll system. So the game has like, has an up. Even though you're in outer space and like nothing is up, like the game has like every area you're in has a defined up as far as the game is concerned. So you can turn on auto rolling, which will slowly just kind of righten your ship on its own. But as far as the actual gameplay loop, it's a roguelike. So it's almost FTL-ish, actually, where you collect fuel and resources to jump to the next like kind of system. And then the systems are very much like No Man's Sky, except without planets, where they're basically like you're inside of a big sphere, basically, and there's just stuff floating in there. And then it's just a really pretty skybox. It's a very pretty game. Runs very well. I think the Switch version also there's a new version on the Switch, which I presume runs very well because the game is deceptively simple. Like there's not that much geometry going on because like most of what you're seeing is just a painting, like a matte painting in the background. And then the actual like objects that you interact with are just like the wrecked ships and asteroids and stuff.
So what happens when you get to the edge of space? Do you meet the Unreal editor designer that was making the world?
I think it's
universe?
like No Man's Sky, where you're just going to keep flying forever and you're never going to reach it. But like FTL, you have kind of a ticking clock. So when you jump to the next system, you have the like interconnected nodes. So you have like, okay, I'll jump to this one or that one, and then it's got kind of a tree branching out that then closes off when it gets to the end. So you can kind of pick your paths. And then with some upgrades, you can know like what systems are more dangerous than others, and kind of pick your path through. But you need fuel to jump. And then also, in order to jump, there is like a jump spot. And all you actually have to do is look at it. So there's a big like green circle always on your HUD. And to move on to the next area, you just have to orient yourself so you're looking right at it, and then it has to load up to 100%. However, getting shot like decreases that number. So it can be really dicey if you are under fire from an overwhelming force and you're trying to get out of there, because you're just like pointing your ship in one direction and then kind of like strafing to avoid as much incoming fire as possible, so that you can actually get that your jump drive or whatever to wind up so you can go off. And you can jump with low fuel, but like I guess there's a chance of just blowing up or having systems damaged. But unlike FTL, where you have like a kind of a marching line, and then when it catches up with you, you have to do like an extra hard fight with no rewards. The way it works is basically if you linger too long in any one sector or any one, I don't know what the small zones are called. I'm just going to say zone, because sectors are like the levels. There's like 7 sectors, and they're each made up of all these little zones. But if you linger too long, the game basically just starts spawning in infinite super tough enemies. Oh, yeah. And it gives you a little warning, and generally, like, unless you are, ready and raring for a fight, as soon as you see that warning that like the enemies are incoming, it's time to hightail it out of there, which can be kind of a pain if there's some good resources still in the area that you haven't got yet, or if you just if you think you're all set. You don't want to risk combat. You can actually just, as much fuel as you have, you can just jump immediately from the next one to the next one if you want. So it's kind of an interesting system in that regards. And other kind of FTL-like things is your ship components can be damaged, which for me always seems to be the shield generators. So that's basically like if your shield generator is damaged, now you have to, it's like reduces the recharge rate by 75% until you spend a bunch of resources to fix it. And then other things that can be damaged are, life support, which just slowly kills you. You can lose access to your secondary weapons, or I don't think you ever lose your primary weapons entirely, but like they're severely reduced in damage and fire rate. And then engines just slow you down if you don't have those. But my favorite is the inertial dampeners once got damaged. And that basically means like the game has a little bit of inertia for forward momentum. But once you strafe side to side, your ship basically like stops on a dime in those regards. But that's not the case with the inertial dampeners broken. It gets really tricky to navigate like tight spaces because your ship will just continue going in any given direction that it has been going, like in real life in outer space. I guess the other thing is with the roguelike, it's got the usual in-run progression versus meta progression. The in-run progression just being like that you're collecting gear and materials to upgrade stuff. You've got primary weapons, secondary weapons, special equipment, and then consumables. And then all of which can be crafted from resources or upgraded to a degree. Or you can just find better stuff kind of out in the field. And then money, your credits, is the meta progression that carries over. So every time you die, when you start a new run, and you spend all the money that you made on the last... There are merchants that you can spend money on, like during a run, but for the most part, you want to save that cash for upgrading your ship and pilot in the meta. And mainly, what I've been doing so far, which has kind of I've made it slow for myself. I feel like the game would be more interesting if I was like upgrading more my energy and weapons rather than I've put so much money into the get more money perk. Like it's like every time you level it up, you get 5% more money for every drop. So like I feel like that's a good thing to just early on. I'm gonna pound that one out just to make things go faster in the long run. Pilot perks carry over, and then your ship upgrades are tied to that ship. So if you want to buy the like faster lighter armored ship that can cloak, or the heavy armored ship that has shields only in one direction, that kind of stuff, like then you kind of have to start over from square one as far as your ship upgrades, which is a bit of a bummer because the game is pretty hard. I've been getting my ass kicked by like multiple bogeys several times, but now after playing it a couple times and getting to about Sector 5, and finally kind of getting the hang of it. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I guess the one last mechanic I'll mention is that it has the equivalent of a stamina meter. There's an energy meter. Basically, everything that you do other than just basic movement eats up energy. Shooting your guns, using equipment, using the boost, which is pretty much essential for going from point A to point B outside of and for dodging stuff sometimes in combat. But yeah, that eats up your energy meter, which then regenerates. But running out of energy entirely in the middle of combat is basically like running out of stamina in a Souls game, where you're like, oh, now everything I do sucks, and I'm getting hammered by lasers from a million directions. They did not explain super well that like the equipment you put on your ship eats up like a set amount of your energy bar. So you've got this green bar under your crosshair, and it drains and then fills back up when you're not using it. But a portion of it is red. And for a while, I thought that it was just like that was a timer thing, like to keep me from dilly-dallying during a run, like that I slowly lose maximum energy capacity. But it turned out it was going down because I was adding more gear as I got it. So there's kind of a give and take there, where this one piece of gear might give you more armor or some other benefit. There was the sensors one that kept getting me. I kept putting in I find an equipment that increases the sensor range. And then, it was like, why is my max energy down so much? And figured out that, it's because that eats up a lot for the benefit it gives you. So it's like, and I'm going to scrap that. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have quite the compulsive loop of like Dead Cells, at least so far. But I'm enjoying it, and it's got because this is the collected version that has the DLC. I guess the DLC added a lot of quests and NPCs, and thank God, the quests carry over between deaths, which is just manna from heaven. Thank you. I mean, it's all like explained in game where your dude is a clone, so we run into people and like they don't know that they're just talking to the next clone. So you can do a quest and then die, and next time you bump into that guy, you can still get your reward. Thank goodness. But yeah, so there's a lot of fun little mechanics it adds. It doesn't really explain things, which is kind of a blessing and a curse. Like, it's fun to like discover that stuff, but it's also not fun to have a run ended because you didn't know that boss character turns into a black hole after you kill it and you were fighting it at close range. That sucked ass. I was like, oh, yeah, I got it. Oh, why'd I die? Oh, it turned into a black hole. Apparently, I need to be far away from it when I do the killing blow. Better luck next time.
Couple questions for you, really. So, okay, was this a Kickstarter game? Was it Kickstarter?
Yeah, but like back in like 2015.
Oh, okay, all right.
So this is just like the console release, basically. I mean, and I think it was last year for PS4 and like a month ago for Switch. And yeah, this physical edition was cursed or something because they were gonna have a limited run games physical copy, and that like totally fell through. And then limited run games took an extra like 6 months to get this out. So I don't know what the problem was putting it onto a disc. But
so
apparently
this is just a physical version. So this has been out for a while.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. Yeah, I'm not ahead of the curve or anything. I'm way behind the curve.
And then just really quick, you may have mentioned this, but like how long, like in real time, is like a life? Is like a whatever.
I think the longest I have lasted is like 50 minutes.
50
and I know
or 15?
50, almost an hour.
Yeah, like an hour. Okay.
And I know there is a trophy for like completing all 7 sectors in like under an hour. So yeah, we're talking, and then it auto saves at the beginning of after every jump. It auto saves.
So if you die, you can kind of go back, or what? Or
I guess you could cheat and like just quick turn the game off if you felt you were about to die and wanted to just start over from that zone. Because it saves at the beginning. And it doesn't auto-save at any time in there. So you could theoretically save scum a little bit like that. But the way the game works, you tend to get into death spirals. You're like, this run is... I was doomed a while ago and didn't realize it. And now I have low armor and like 5 of my ship components are damaged. And, every zone I jump into has the... because there's things that happen like jump jammers. You'll go into an area and then it won't let you jump out until you find and hack a certain item, which again was not super well explained. The first time it happened, like I saw a little meter like, oh, it says it's jamming me and the signal strength is 10%, and so I flew away until it reached 0. And then nothing happened. And then I realized, I got to get it up to 100%. And then that will lead me to where the jammer is so I can deactivate it. I thought I needed to like get out of the range. But, oh well. It caused me to get blown up, but it was pretty early on.
And then finally, should Hello Games buy these guys just to implement the system into No Man's Sky?
They are only superficially similar. Like they have a similar aesthetic with this colorful outer space thing, and like the ship could totally pass for a No Man's Sky ship. But the actual like core gameplay loop could not be more different. Like this is purely in outer space. You never get out of the ship. It's all about combat. It's very arcadey, wherein No Man's Sky attempts to be a little more like kind of space simmy in that regards. I'm not a huge fan of the No Man's Sky space combat, even though I was just saying that I like the way you can actually manually roll your ship with the bumpers. But oh
Yeah.
well.
Oh, right. All right. So anything else for this week?
No, I think that'll cover it.
All right. All right, cool. All right, so let me just hit these up really quick. Have quite a bit. All right, so Tetris 99. So I kind of discussed this last week. I played it once when I talked about it. I didn't really know the systems, and there have been a lot of people on podcasts that have just explained this, but I'm going to go ahead and explain it as well. So it's Tetris 99 Battle Royale Tetris. And I was saying like how because you would do Tetrises or clear squares and all this stuff or lines, and you would attack people, and I didn't really understand like how it worked. But apparently, and I've actually played it a lot more since then. It's actually pretty addictive. You can definitely play like 5 matches in a row, and it doesn't feel like too long, but they're actually like 4 or 3 minute matches. So pretty quick, an hour can go by, super quick. But anyway, so the way the attack system works is that the right stick on the Switch actually gives you an option of 4 options. You can do a random attack, so where your pieces go once you clear lines. You can do a random person. You can go to attacker, so that's someone that's attacking you. You can fight back against them. You can go against someone who has a lot of badges, and you basically accumulate badges by knocking people out. And then you can target people that are about to be knocked out. So you're not only playing Tetris, and you're not only playing against other people, but I suppose there's a little bit of strategy involved. And once I kind of started like going in it, and I am definitely not like a great Tetris player because I haven't really like spent a lot of time in Tetris, probably for like probably since the original Game Boy version, probably. And that was like, what, 8? Because I remember this lady, and listen, this sounds like we were rich, but this lady that would clean her house, we weren't rich. I don't know. She just came and cleaned her house. I don't know why. But she had a Game Boy, and we would play Tetris on it. And that was probably the last time I actually spent a lot of time on Tetris. But so what I would think, doing the strategy is like, okay, maybe when you first start out, attack the attackers that are attacking you so that they stop attacking you. And then maybe like a couple, the middle game, quote unquote, the middle game, then go after people that are at KOs so you can knock them out and get badges. And then because once you kind of get badges and knock more people out, you have like these multipliers so that when you send pieces, clear lines to other players, it's not 2 or 1. It's not 1. It's like 2 or 3 times or whatever like that. So.
Yeah, I believe a reviewer was saying that. Yeah, it's like if you get into the top, if you're in the final 10 and you don't have any badges, it's like playing a battle royale game and getting to the final circle with like only starting gear, basically.
Yeah, with no guns, no shield, that sort of stuff. Yeah. So, the best I ever placed was like I want to say maybe I want to say like 36, but it's probably more like 52 or something like that. So I'm not getting at all. I'm not great at this game, and I gotta say it's a really good version of Tetris on its own right. I'm gonna talk about the up on the D-pad in a second here, but for this other game that I played, but on the Switch Pro controller, the traditional dual joystick one, the up. And I've talked about this actually on XM Verge too. If you push left or right, you will sometimes trigger the up button, and the up button is what drops the piece down like right away. So
really,
there have been way more.
I thought it was. Isn't it normally down?
No, down just speeds it up going down. And
it's like instantaneous. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I might be able to change this. I just haven't done it yet. But I've definitely lost matches, and I don't mean like lost matches, but I've gotten bounced because I was trying to put a right piece down, and instead of like moving left or right, it triggered the up button and it dropped it down. And also, the regular Switch Joy-Con, they're not that much better either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It kind of sucks, and I don't know. They need to replace
Stop
this.
fat fingering it with your giant monkey hands.
Yeah, no kidding. And then one other really quick, the hold mechanic. This has the hold mechanic, Frank. So if you get
it's like Tetris maximal mechanics, right? Because it's
Yeah.
got like hold and the T spin, which I had to look up what a T spin was. But yeah, apparently you get bonuses for doing those. And
Oh,
yeah,
really?
so
What is a T-spin? I thought you meant like because you get a lot of leeway to move your pieces around before it actually hits the ground. But what is a T-spin? I do not know what that is.
A T spin is like a bonus you can get in certain Tetris games for doing that. Where yeah, and like I was watching gameplay of this, and it has an extremely generous. I don't know what it's called, like the time between
Cushion time or
it
something?
landing and like it actually locking into place.
Yeah.
Seems very, very generous.
Yep, it is.
So a T-spin is when you take advantage of that time period to rotate your piece into like the exact perfect spot that it would not normally be able to get into just by dropping it. So if you like have a tight like weird shape and you drop something in and then like rotate it and move it like to fit perfectly into that spot, and there would be no way that it could just drop down into that spot. Like it has to be like, something that has to move horizontally a little bit or something. Yeah, apparently that's a T-spin, and it's like I don't know how big of a bonus, but you get bonus points for doing that.
Well, I've dropped L pieces. When you have like a a little space on a line. I've dropped L pieces in those. You know what I mean? Does that count? Does that count as a T-spin? So I don't know. Probably not, right? And then yeah. So then the other. So that's all fine. It's accessible. You want a lot of people playing this game, so you always have fresh bodies to grind through and all that stuff. But the hold mechanic, Frank. So again, the hold mechanic is if you get a piece that you don't like, you can push left trigger. I'm sorry, not left trigger, but left bumper and hold the piece. And it's not like you get that piece next after the next piece. You can hold that piece indefinitely to the very end.
Yeah, it's in your reserve.
Yeah, and Frank, I'm not Listen, I'm not traditional. I'm not conservative at all by any means, at least socially. But when it comes to Tetris, I'm right wing. I don't think I think that completely. It's all about the random freaking pieces coming down, right? I mean, that's the whole point. You gotta play with the hand you've been dealt. You know what I'm saying?
I know the hold's been there since like NES Tetris.
Yeah. Has it really?
Like that was the first like thing they
N64.
came up with to like what could we do to like mechanically enrich Tetris?
Yeah.
And there it is. But it's like also for me as well. Game Boy Tetris is like the one I am most familiar with because that was the one I had. So yeah, I remember when I played the Tetris Effect demo, I couldn't figure out what button did that. I was like, oh yeah, I can do the thing. I don't know how.
Mm-hmm. What hold? There was a hold on the Game Boy one, was there? Am I wrong?
No, there wasn't, which is why. So I'm not like
okay.
I'm not super familiar with it, even though I know that it is pretty common.
Nope.
But yeah, so you're a Tetris minimalist rather than a Tetris maximalist.
I would say traditionalist. Let's say that. Traditionalist. But hey,
it's this postmodern neoliberal Marxist Tetris.
Yeah, these communists, this socialist Tetris. All these people getting free Tetris. I don't like it. No, okay. But no, I mean, just it is a great game, and yeah. Oh yeah, and then also you can target people by pushing the screen. So I was correct the other day last time we were talking about. So yeah, but they don't explain and like how you attack people and all that stuff. So you basically have to look it up or just guess or none of that stuff. So all right, moving on really quick. Apex Legends. I've been playing a little bit more Apex Legends, so this is basically what I play when my traditional crew, more less traditional going on here, when my PUBG crew, who are mostly on the East Coast, or at least on the Eastern Standard Time, are not available. I'll just play Apex Legends with another friend really quick because it's you get in, you get out really quick. Everything's really quick and nothing is abrasive like like a PUBG. Where you get in and then it takes you 50 seconds to load into a game and then you gotta drop and then you gotta find all your guns and you gotta do that here, but everything is accelerated, right? And it took me a while to kind of really get used to the guns, but now I'm starting to kind of get a grip on that and the menu system and all that stuff. And the reason why I kind of really got back into it is because of Pathfinder, who is the robot. And I actually saw a video about his because he has this grappling technique. All these characters have like powers and then like an ultimate like Overwatch. So his technique is a grapple, and it's not just the grapple that takes you up to top of what do you call it, a building or anything like that. It you throw it at like a piece of land or whatever your target. And it kind of gives you this quick boost once it like engages, and then if you time it right, you can like slingshot yourself like up and like over, and like if you like point your camera in the right way, you can like ride the momentum and all this stuff. So there's some like real physics going on, and you can use this to like just really flank your enemies really quick and get out of bad situations. There's this one game where my comrades got all killed. And I was basically like causing havoc on this team that was like trying to loot my homies. And I was on top of this little city, and they had no idea where I was going. And as soon as I would fire, I would just grapple over to another part, and just really opens up the game and makes it a lot more interesting. And Frank, I've decided you've heard of the best builders in Fortnite. You ever see these YouTube videos like the best builder on console or mobile?
Fortnite, it's a game where when you shoot a 12-year-old, he turns into an 18-story building.
Yeah. You've heard of the best builder on console. Well, Frank, I've decided that I'm going to be the best grappler on any platform. I don't care. PC, Xbox, PS4.
I don't know.
I
saw a video pretty early on of somebody like spinning, like they had grappled onto a hill, and they were just going in a full circle over and over again, just to confound their opponent. And then I
think that was the last guy too, right? He won the game.
Shot him with a shot. Yeah, it was because it was like a Kotaku highlight reel clip or something. So it was like 1-on-1, just spinning in a circle and then like kind of detaching and shotgunning the guy.
Yeah, morons. The guy's an amateur. All right. Guy doesn't know what he's doing. I taught the guy watches my videos. Okay. Yeah. All right. No, I know, but it is quite a little bit of fun. I'm trying to get really, really good with him. Okay, and then just really other quick. It just takes a lot of bullets to like knock people down, especially when you unload a clip. It takes more than one clip to like actually knock someone down if they have a really good shield and all that stuff. So you pretty much have to pop, kill them or whatever, just hit them really quick and then take cover before they can start attacking you. So that's kind of annoying, but it's a really quality.
That is a long time to kill, you say?
Yep. TTK, as they'd say. All right, and then Kirby. Kirby's Adventure was a game available on the NES Online, Nintendo Switch Online NES, whatever this thing is called. And Kirby's Adventure, I never played this game. As a kid, this game came out pretty late.
The Super Nintendo
in the
one?
NES's. Did you ever play it? Have you played it at all?
No. That's another Game Boy only franchise for me. Wait, so this is the NES one?
Yeah, so this is the NES one. Yeah, the Game Boy was the first one, and then the NES came in late. I think the Super Nintendo was actually already out at that time.
Yeah,
so it was
like one of the very last NES games to come out.
Yeah, I believe so. And so never played this, so I thought it would be a good chance to actually check it out now that it's free. Not free, but at least on my my Switch. And I gotta say, we're seeing all these new pixel art games and all this stuff, and these 8-bit games and all this stuff. The animation on this game really holds up, and I think they really pretty much unleashed the last bit of power that the NES had, because the game actually, when you start the game up, it's like a little drawing of Kirby being drawn by a hand. I think that was a lot of tech kind of wonders going on. And I was actually pretty amazed, with 30 years of hindsight of seeing what technology and what was limited in the NES. And I don't know if because these NES cartridges, some of them had special chips in them. So I don't know if this had a crazy chip in there to help it the graphics and all that stuff, or the processing power. But I was actually pretty impressed for an NES game, and that's hard to say. It's hard to say these days. And blah blah blah. I was pretty surprised at the controls because it's not just like sucking people up, although you can do that and take over their powers and all that stuff. But
Oh, so
you can like
this
you know
is the
you
one that
push.
introduced a power absorption.
Yeah, this is the first one because the Game Boy one. Actually, I read about Kirby today, so yeah, I guess the Game
Yeah,
Boy.
the Game Boy one, you just spat people back out as like stars, and then you could also do the inflate yourself thing.
Yeah, yeah. Then you jump up and you can inflate yourself, so you can kind of hover and all this stuff. So a lot of kind of mechanics going on, and but again, the Switch D-pad is really not good. So I often found myself, doing the inflatable thing, and that just really, it really pissed me off. So.
I feel like the Dual
The
Shocks
mini
are the only
games.
good D-pads these days.
I know. I gotta get a Hori. I don't know. I saw a video the other day about how to fix your D-pad, so I checked that out. There are mini games in between each level, and they're kind of, I don't know. They don't really explain like how you have to do them, so I always was really bad at them. I'm sure if you're like a 10-year-old kid and you're playing this game 8 hours a day, you probably get pretty good at them. And then just really quick, there's this one power you get when you become a sword, where you grab a sword from like some guy, and the animation and sound from this thing is pretty astounding. Again, for NES game, just look up Kirby Adventure Sword animation. I think you'd be pretty impressed for a NES game. All right, and then really quick, Super Mario Brothers 2. I tried that. I just whatever. Once you're in that NES online thing. You're just like, all right, might as well just play Super Mario Brothers 2. And we actually talked about this quite a bit last week. But one thing that playing the game again, you forget, or at least I forgot. This is a sequel to Super Mario Brothers. When you start the game, you're dropping downwards. You're going downwards in the game. Complete difference from the classic first part of Super Mario Brothers, where you're pretty much forced to get a mushroom. By like hitting the thing and blah blah blah. You're just dropping down. This is a Mario game. I mean, obviously it wasn't a Mario game, but it's just so weird how much different it was. And I mean, no company in their right mind would release a sequel to a #1 smash hit like Super Mario Brothers that was totally different from the first one. No one would do that these days.
Well, if you remember, there was a proper sequel to Mario in Japan, and they did not release that in the States until like the Super Nintendo
the All-Stars
remaster or whatever, because they were really, really hard.
Well, there was a couple of reasons. Yeah, it was really hard. It's pretty much like the master collection of Mario levels, but also it was very similar. Like they didn't change the graphic style at all.
Yeah, it was just more Mario.
More Mario. Yeah, but I think looking back, it's playing this game. The game control is so great. The music is so great. And it's funny when you go back to these old games that you played, I don't know how many goddamn hours as a kid. And, you're playing through the game, and you may not be able to perform all the tricks and do all the but you know where everything is. You know, like, what happens. And
yeah, you get the weird muscle memory.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah. Because I haven't thought about this in, 15 years. And, like, the second I'm there, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yep. And it's weird because it's more better than, yeah, you're right. The muscle memory, I mean, it's more ingrained into our brains than like a movie or a book or anything. It's just the whole experience. And
yeah, but it's weird, but you can't like recall it whole cloth. Like you can't like bring it up in your head. But like once you sit down and actually play, I had like a really similar experience with Donkey Kong Country. Like when I played it again, like when I got all my Super Nintendo stuff back out of like the closet a couple years back. I decided I was going to play more Super Nintendo games again. Like, I remember picking that up and, like, instantly being able to be like, oh, yeah, there's a balloon here. There's a balloon under here.
Yep.
There's a balloon under here. And, like,
it's like this kind of deja vu, nostalgia. I don't know. It's just this really weird emotion. And I was actually really surprised.
Like, where are the balloons?
I was actually really surprised. We were talking about like how it's so much different than the first Mario game. Well, they added a lot of Mario touches, like when you're doing the character selection screen, it plays Mario music. When you go into the weird night zone. By the way, did we ever figure what that is? The night zone? What the fuck is that? You throw a potion, you're in the night zone. I mean, what was going on? They play music.
Mario's nightmare. He's just the potion is meth. He's going on a bender, and then the scary flying mask face represents his existential terror and non-existence.
Yeah. And then also, again, we've said this before, but this game originally was called Doki Doki Panic. I think it was made for like a grocery store chain that had like characters. I believe that's the story behind it.
That sounds like that. Totally 100% reasonable.
I think it was like some sort of mascot, like group of mascots that they did, and then, but if there wasn't like Mario characters, would anyone care about this game? Right? No, probably not. Right? But this is quite a brilliant game. So, whoever eventually made this decision to take this game and put Mario and all his characters on it, pretty much a genius. I would probably imagine. Just one of those weird things that. Probably just some decision. Some guy in a suit probably made a decision, and 100 million people's lives were changed or were altered because of that. Kind of nuts. And here we are. We're talking about it on a podcast in 2000.
This is the most nice things I've ever heard you say about 8-bit video games.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I still saw some flickering. I hate NES flickering. I hate it. I don't know, I just had a really good, again, I only played 2 or 3 levels of it, but just brought back some warm memories. So it's all good. It's all good. Just the simpler times, Frank. Remember, you didn't have any fucking bills to pay, and fucking the old lady wasn't mad at you, and just all that crap. All these other things. You just had to worry about, just make sure you got up to take a piss every 3 hours. So. All right. Did you confirm that Doki Doki Panic story? Were you able to confirm that?
It was made in cooperation with Fuji Television.
Okay.
To promote its event called Yumikojo 87, Dream Factory 87.
So that was like a.
So it's based on
like a trade show.
Yeah, like a. Yeah, a TV. Announcement.
Pretty much CES of Japan, but only TVs though. So
yeah.
And that became an iconic game. I wonder if they got any. They must have not gotten any royalties from that because they changed the characters to Mario. So, damn.
Yeah, I'm sure they got a lump sum. Here's $200. I don't know why I talk like this when I'm Japanese.
That's 80 billion yen, by the way. So, all right. All right, so that's it. Quite a lot of games we've been talking about. So, I think we're getting it there and move on with our lives. So, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. You can watch, by the way, on YouTube. Just look up Chris Frank Games, and we got a big surprise.
Into a Wikipedia rabbit hole in real time.
Yeah. Don't get stuck. And all right, so that's it. We will see you guys next week. And for Frank White, my name is Chris Stotts. It's been Chris Frank Games.
Goodbye, everybody.